Good evening, everyone. We are with Psalms chapter 139, and we are continuing from where we left off yesterday in verse 10, where we ended, and we are continuing on with verse 11 today. Just a quick recap is that right up before this, we are seeing how David expresses his awe of God in the song in a very poetic way, describing the fact of that close and intimate relationship that God knows him very well. In fact, God has tested him. God knows him. God knows what he does, his character. And then when we went to the second part, he is just saying that, well, in that intimate relationship with God, there is nowhere that God is not with him. He cannot go away from God because he's guided by his words. Right? So that's where we left off. So let's continue on from verse 11. It is very much with regards to the way that David expresses God's knowledge of him. In verse 11, it says, "If I say, surely the darkness shall fall on me, even the night shall be light about me." How do we break this apart? And I think if we say that the word "if I say" really doesn't quite make the cut. Basically, all this "if," you notice they are all in the italics. So it is supplied by the translator. So let's work on this. And then I say, and the word here is surely. The darkness, and in this case, darkness is choshek. And as I mentioned to you all before, darkness in the Near East concept is not an absence of light. It is about thick clouds. So darkness shall fall on me. And the word fall on me, I think you could say perhaps overwhelm, right? Overwhelm. And you can only do that if the darkness that we have translated in the English here, darkness, are clouds, thick clouds. They come all over me. And then even the night. The night is called night in Genesis chapter 1. That refers to the darkness, right? The darkness. This is the name for the darkness part, the dark part. So you could see this in Genesis chapter 1, I think in verse 3, maybe. Let's see. In verse 5. All right. So the night, the word night is the name that's given to the darkness in Genesis chapter 1, verse 5. And in that sense, it would be like as if it is caused to be bright, right? Caused to be bright. And how is this? Is caused to be bright around me, round about me. Round about me. And this would be a good way to express that David is saying, even when the thick clouds engulf me, the darkness will be caused to be bright about me. And this is the same way to describe how God cares for David. And in this case, you would find the A and B here, right? So we have the darkness and the night. And then it goes on to say to us, indeed, the darkness shall not hide from you, but the night shines as the day. The darkness and the light both alike. One of the things that I had said yesterday was, do not allow the words supplied by the translator, like in the New King James, as we are looking on the screen, those in italics like these. These are all supplied. And sometimes, even when they supply it, they may not put it in italics. So let's break down verse 12. It says here, indeed. So you could say even the darkness, and remember the darkness, the thick clouds. The thick clouds shall not hide from you. And the word shall not hide literally means cause to be darkened or cause to be not seen. And so the idea here is, even when the thick clouds come and surround me, it will not cause me not to see you, right? And basically saying that it doesn't block my view. But the night shines as the day. Remember, the word night is the name for darkness. And it says it says it shines as a day. It means very much that the night is as day. The word shine isn't there. The word shine is supplied. And I think maybe we could say this to be caused to illuminate. So instead of the word shine like a bright light, you could say that the night is caused to brighten up like the day. The darkness and the light, and it says here the darkness and the light, both alike. That seems to be a bit strange to express. So you could say that the dark clouds as darkness and the light as in brightness. And it says all this is alike. And it would be a good translation so that you can say that the darkness and the brightness cannot hide God from David. So you can see this is a very poetic way of expressing how intimate the relationship is with David. Now, I suppose through this psalm, we can actually catch a glimpse of why God says that he searched the world through and then he found a man after his heart. And this is how David expresses the closeness with God. When we get to verse 13, he continues this discourse about how intimate God knows him and God shows himself to him. In verse 13, it says, for. The word for can be translated as because you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. Now, this is the New King James translation. So let's break this down a little bit. The word form basically is kana. Kana means very much to erect, to build, right? My inward parts. Now, you'll be surprised to know that inward parts here is literally kidneys. Now, the Hebrew loves to use body parts to express different things, right? The body parts may be used to reflect the emotions, right? You covered me in my mother's womb. And the word covered literally is to, I would say, weave together. So this is a very poetic way of saying how a baby is formed, right? In my mother's womb. And the word womb is also known as the belly, or the, well, figuratively, it is also known as the depths of Sheol. So that is a figure of speech in the depths of Sheol. So the womb is not seen from the outside. We all know that that's where the baby is formed. And whenever David says, in my mother's womb, he's actually looking at a mother from the outside, that the lower part of the mother, the belly, is swollen. And hence that is where the baby is woven together. And here we have an A and a B. All right? An A and a B. It's speaking about how the baby is formed. And as David reflects this, he says, you know what? I praise you. Praise is from the word odeka, that's from the word yada, is to point to God, right? To point to God. And that really means to praise him, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works that my soul knows very well. Look at this. When it says marvelous, it says here, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. The word fearful is to be astonished. That tells you that David cannot fathom and understand, this is so incredible. The word wonderfully is, well, miraculous, I think would be a good word. It surpasses the ordinary. It surpasses the ordinary. It is extraordinary, right? It's extraordinary. And the word marvelous is the same word here. It is beyond ordinary. So let's use the word extraordinary. Extraordinary, it's very wonderful. It are what you have done, your works. Your works means things that God has done. And this refers to the formation of the baby. Do you follow? This is how the phrase works. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. So let's break this down again. Verse 15. He says, you cannot hide. The word hide probably would be to be concealed. Right? My frame, and the word frame, you'll be surprised to find out, is that the word frame comes from the word bones. So if you say my bones was not concealed from you, would be a good way to translate, because we are still talking about the formation of the baby. When I was made in secret. So you look at this, when I was made, and the word made is literally like things that God did, right? Things that God did. And it was said in secret. In secret. The word secret means a secret place, right? A place covered. Secret place. Now, some of them would say that in a very literal speech, this word here, when it says I was made in secret, would mean that it is not made in the open. And David's parents had made a child in secret, in a place that is away from public eyes. That would be what secret here might mean. And skillfully wrought. Now, this skillfully wrought, I think it'll be easier to explain. It would be, how should you say? It's skillfully woven, skillfully embroidered. And this is another, how should you say, a poetic way of talking about making a baby, or forming a baby, or shaping a baby. And that's the idea of woven, which is from here, right? Woven in verse 13, right? That is literally to weave. And in this case, it'd be more of an embroidery, in a skillful way to put various fabrics and threads together in a needlework. That would be this phrase here, skillfully wrought, like a needlework and an exquisite piece of work that you sew or embroider together. Now, the lowest part of the earth is not anything but the belly, the womb. That is a reference to the womb right here that I have highlighted to you, the womb. And so understand this, in the Hebrew thought, the womb is the lower parts of the earth, the depths of Sheol. But it is not literally that, it's a figure of speech. So a woman bears a child, forms a child in the belly, called the lowest part of the earth. Now, verse 16 is interesting, because remember, what we have to always remember is all of these continue to highlight on how wonderfully and fearfully made that David is astonished. He can't explain all these things. So now let's look at verse 16. Your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed, and in your book they were all written the days fashioned for me, when none of them. And again, I ask you to avoid allowing these to affect our thinking until we have unpacked this. So verse 16 begins to say this: your eyes. Your eyes is like literally see. So this is very much describing some very vivid imagery that God is looking. But what does substance actually mean? Now in verse 16, the word substance comes from the word golem. Golem, right? Golem. And the word golem shouldn't be translated as substance because this is an Old English expression. I think it would be an unformed mass. And in our modern day terms, an embryo. All right? An unformed mass. It's not perfect, it's a mush of things there, right? And it is described as not being yet unformed is actually the how should I say, that would be a phrase that's applied by the translator to discuss this substance unformed. So you have to read this entire line in English. Substance being unformed, yet unformed, is this one word, golem. Your eyes have seen my unformed mass. Your eyes have seen my embryo being formed. And what are we talking about? Still here. And in your book. Now the word book, I think we may want to rethink this. This could be a book, this could be a scroll. This is something which God has written down. So in the things that you have written down everything, right? You have written down everything. I think you have written down everything you have written down everything of the days. And this one comes from a word, fashion for me. And it would be interesting to see that it was about everything of the days that of the formation days, right? The formation days. What do you mean by formation days? It means that from the start of conception to the time the baby is fully formed, all this is written down by God as how it should be. That is what it means, the days when none of them. It literally means that everything God wrote down is about the formation of the baby when there was none. What do you mean when there was none? And basically there was not anything that was shaped yet. I think that would be a way to express this. So you can think of this as a very poetic way of saying that God saw who I am when I was still in this unformed mass right here, and that in his scroll, God has written in a very determined way how I would move and shape myself from conception to a full-formed baby when I didn't even exist in that sense. And what would this mean? This is also speaking about how the baby was formed. So the entire thing is really expressing God is not saying that everything in his life has really been predetermined. In this context of this poetry, David is saying everything that I was when I was formed in the lowest parts of the earth in my mother's womb, when I was nothing until I became something, you have determined everything that will happen, and here I am. And that is what put David at awe. Verse 17, he says, how precious also your thoughts to me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, there will be more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with you. So this is the theme. God is with me. God is intimate with me. God knows me. He's seen me form when I have no formation. And so let's break this down. Verse 17. How precious. Precious means valuable, prized. Are your, or of high esteem, are your thoughts to me. Now, the thing is, it is an expression that is not in the Hebrew. Unfortunately, it's not in the Hebrew. Let me see whether it's in the Greek. It's also not quite in the Greek. So I would say that verse 17 has a slight difference in translation. So let me see whether I could just translate this. And how precious, and all these will be precious, are your thoughts, your purpose, your aim. These are all your ideas, right? Your ideas. To me, oh God, how great. The word great is about strong, I think. How strong, how vast, how strong is the sum of them. Now, the word sum of them might be expressed how great is the best of them. Maybe the sum of them could be used, but the best of them it may be used to express this as well. And so let me, these are very rarely used meaning. And so let me just unpack this. So he's saying, how valuable are all your ideas, your thoughts, your purpose for me, oh God? How strong is the best of all these thoughts, or the sum of all these thoughts? That God has good things to think about David. And in verse 18, if I were to count, the word count is to number, right? To number. And how many would there be? There will be more in number than the sand. Now, it would be, if I should count them, there would be more than the sand, right? More than the sand. So this word here would be more in number, is one word. So they would be more, and this is supplied by the translator, than sand. Sand. Literally sand, little particles. And this is a very graphic way of expressing numbers. Uncountable, right? Uncountable. If you recall, God says that, no, I will make to Abraham, I will make your descendants like the sand on the shore, like the stars in the sky. And what would that mean? It means that, it will be uncountable. And that is the same Hebrew expression here. If I should count the number, if I should count them, there will be more than sand. And then when I awake, and this awake is interesting, when I am aroused from sleep. When I'm aroused from sleep, I continue. This is what you mean. I continue. I continue together with you. So this relationship is the expression in this song up to verse 18, right? Up to verse 18. So I trust that we are able to encapsulate all of these with regards to how David expresses his development in the womb, where God will be with him, how marvelous he is, that he is formed. He is just not by accident. Verse 19. If you would slay the wicked, O God, depart from me, therefore, you bloodthirsty man. So what does it mean? If you would kill the wicked here would be those who go away from the right path. And the word kill is kill. It's put to death, right? And then it says the bloodthirsty man. The bloodthirsty man would be in the Hebrew, it means the bloody man. And so bloodthirsty is a very English way of putting it. So bloody man is a man who will kill, shed blood. So this is the idea of slay. And so he says that you would kill the wicked. That you will kill the wicked. O God, depart from me, therefore, you bloodthirsty men. Now, this I think would be a bit of a challenge. Why would God slay the wicked in this sense and then calls them to depart? The word depart is turn away. Turn away. Therefore, you who would kill people, right? You who would kill people. Now, the word "oh God" here merely means Elohim. Okay. Now, however, you would know that the word Elohim may mean God. It can also mean powerful people, powerful men. And so, if you look at the context, perhaps maybe it's not talking about God killing the guilty, right? I think maybe it would be talking about powerful men killing other people. And David says, depart from me, that these bloody men are the powerful men who kills. That could be a way of expressing it, right? For they speak against you wickedly. In verse 20, speak against you in this sense would be they answer you. It can be said that they answer you. And the word wickedly doesn't exist in that sense. Maybe we would say, for they answer against you with mischievous, mischievously, maybe with bad intent, so that we don't keep using the word wicked as if is the same word as wicked here. These two words are not the same. They are not the same. Although the English puts it the same, they are not the same, and they don't express the same thing. Your enemies take in vain. And so you look at verse 20, it says, the idea of vanity here, vain, is emptiness, or nothingness. And so he says, your enemies, in this sense, would be the bad intention is to take. And so your enemies or your foe, somebody who is watching this closely, lifts. The word take is to lift, right? Bear, or lift. But it doesn't mean your name, because there is no your name in the Hebrew text. So it is supplied in because if you read Exodus chapter 20 in the Ten Commandments, you shall not take the name of God in vain. And that's how they inserted the word your name in here. So it would mean that your enemies would lift in vain, or how should you say, take up or bear up in vain, or go against you. The intent is in vain. All right. And so this is what your enemies will do. I don't think it is very much to do with your name. So I would defer from the translator here. Because David is saying, all these who want to go against God, it is in vain. It is nothing. How can they go against God? God is so marvelous. And that's how the song goes here. Do I not hate them, O Lord, who hate you? And do I not loathe them who rise up against you? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. And so what is David saying is this. So let's break it down, and then we'll define it. Verse 21, do I not hate? Sane is to turn against them, to turn around. Those who actually turn against God, right? Who turns around and tries to be hateful to God. Do I not loathe? And the word loathe here, I think detest would mean well. Detest those who arise. And the word arise is to to stir up, to rise up, to stir hate against God. So both of these are people who are against God. Okay. And then he says, I hate them with perfect hatred. And the idea of perfect hatred means complete hatred or perfection in hatred. So I hate them with a perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. And so he says, well, to count them doesn't quite make the cut. I think we could say that they are my enemies, right? I think that would be a better way to say it, that they are my enemies, right? So I count them is probably not so correct. And so what does this say? People against God. And so David says, God and me have a very intimate and close relationship. Our hearts literally beat together. And God has done all these marvelous works. God calls him a man after my heart. And David now resounds, God, your enemy is my enemy. Right? That's basically what David is saying. If they hate you, well, they are your enemies. And so I hate them too. And the idea here is about a description of a intimate relationship. So Psalm 139 is about a closeness of relationship with God. Now let's look at our final two verses. Very popular. And these two verses becomes the conclusion of the entire psalm. It says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. So let's break this down and we will come to an end. The word search. What do you mean to search? To examine. And if you remember, this is in 139 verse 1, right up front when we first started. That's the same word. Examine, explore, right? Investigate me, O God. Go straight into my heart, penetrate me. And then it says, know my heart. And the idea here is to perceive, to identify, to recognize. And whenever we read the word heart, heart is the seat of the choice, right? The will, so to speak. So basically, David is saying, God, check me out, examine me, test me, so that you can recognize my mind and my will, my choices is really to be with you. And then the second line here is to try. Now, try comes from the word bakhan. It is to prove, also to examine, to scrutinize. And I would say that this would be an A and a B. And the intent of all these is what? It is to know, same, perceive, same word, right? Perceive. And then my anxieties. My anxieties are disquieting thoughts. Disquieting thoughts. And what do you mean by disquieting thoughts? These are thoughts that disturbs him. So know what disturbs me. Basically, that's what it says. Know what is dividing my mind, right? Dividing the mind. That is what it means by anxieties here, disquieting thoughts. The next word is and see. And the word see is to experience, right? You can actually see, observe. And it talks about experience. And see what? And see if, and the idea here is not wicked way. Not wicked way. I think it can be understood as a how should we say this? A, 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 a regretful way, a sorrowful way, a sorrowful way. I think that would be a way of explaining it. A sorrowful way, a way that is wrong, a painful way. I think there is a concept of idols here. So observe and see if I walk away from you, that there could be another God that I walk with, right? And that would be a way of looking at it in me. So that there is no intent to break the Ten Commandments. That David saying, just check me out, God, that I am totally for you. And if that's the case, lead me. And the idea of lead me is to guide, again, the same word that we have seen before, and guide me in the way. And the word way is the same. In the way, olam. Right? That's the idea. Olam. Everlasting, yes, perhaps you could use that. The way to your world. The way into the future, into the next world. And that's the thoughts of David. For this entire psalm, this would be the conclusion of his song. After saying that God is so close to him, he knows everything, and yet he is now willing to bear all. In 23 and 24, he's just basically saying, God, this is my heart. Check me out. Get to know me. See if there is anything that is not right. Know the things that is dividing my mind, that's clouding my judgment. See if there is any way that I'm going to walk away from you. Please check me and guide me in the way to you. And that would be a way of expressing Psalm 139.